Hi, this is Jacqueline with Sound Body Wisdom. Welcome. So recently I was listening to a podcast about sound and soundscape ecology, and it felt a lot like coming home because the roots of much of how I developed and have explored as a person began with studying and diving into the origins and the nature of sound. It's a part of the reason why I chose Sound Body Wisdom as the name for my work. And when I was listening to this, it just felt really nourishing to just geek out and focus on these natural world elements of rhythms and the cycles in sound. And this invited my curious mind to revisit the nature of listening itself and to do what I like to do in building bridges between familiar occurrence like listening and finding new ways to imagine how to relate to these things. So the word listening, it's used often enough in everyday life. And I remember, back in high school language class, being instructed by the teacher, every class to listen and repeat. Listen and repeat. And, I can think of all the times, too, that a friend has maybe shared a new piece of music with me and said, hey, listen to this, or the different times like a loved one has perhaps stated passionately, you're not listening to me. And these are just a few examples, right, that jump to mind of how we reference this thing called listening. And, most of us are likely familiar with the word or the concept of listening. And perhaps it's an obvious statement, but there are different kinds of listening. So for today, I'm going to separate listening into active listening and passive listening. And today I'd like to talk about, can you guess? Yeah, active listening is where we're headed today. So maybe you would ask, what's the difference? Well, in the examples I gave, it might be the difference between how well I might learn my language vocabulary, or the depth I can appreciate the music and be able to share it with my friend, or how well I can connect and build trust with my loved one. Active listening, it not only asks us to engage with who or what we're listening to, but it asks us to hear, to really hear. And if listening is the act, then hearing is the fruition or the result of the action. And this is where I go off-road a bit and reach for a deeper relationship with what it means to hear. Again, if listening is the act, hearing is the potential for something more. So the dictionary definition generally isolates hearing to perceiving sound with the ear, which makes sense. Hearing is, of course, a potential biological mechanical function of the ears. And I'm inviting us to bridge active listening and hearing to our awareness, our kindness, and our curiosity. To open our hearing towards a deeper space of understanding, a place of presence to receive. Hearing as a bridge to relate on a deeper level to an experience, a place, a person, or ourselves. Okay, so let me say a little bit more. In the example of the song being shared, really, hearing the details or nuances can not only create a shared experience with friends, but we can be moved by music or something we hear in the experience of the musician, or the possibility of connecting to some new joy or memory in ourselves when we actively listen, or the example of a loved one wanting to be heard. Now, while how they feel is ultimately beyond our control, we can show up and actively listen. We can connect and share space with them. We can seek to really hear them through the contribution of awareness, kindness, and curiosity, and create more possibility to understand and connect. This can sometimes involve some vulnerability and some courage, and the reward is the potential for more connection, which I think benefits everyone. So, listening is happening often in our day to day. You're listening right now to this episode, and then to the thoughts that might emerge within you as you listen. And we can choose if we want to engage, focus our awareness towards active listening so we can really hear, find more connection and understanding. We can utilize our skills of awareness, curiosity, and kindness to support all of this journey. And there are opportunities every day, some more simple than others, and we get to choose how we practice. It might be a song, or perhaps a place in nature, the rhythms of a city, a family dinner, a conversation with a loved one, or even a challenging discussion with a friend. Or, in this one we can often overlook. It can be the dialogue, the thoughts, and the chatter that we actually have within ourselves all the time. This is the inner personal dialogue all of us have, to different degrees. It's the chatter that might be more or less active at different times in our lives, or thoughts we may or may not pay attention to, and potentially full-on conversations that we engage in within ourselves. And truly, active listening and hearing ourselves, it's not something we often might consider as important. It can be the area that we overlook. And that's why I like to begin by using some of the more readily familiar examples, like conversations with friends or music or nature. These oftentimes can be more relatable or accessible and can help us bridge to the practice of actively listening to ourselves and hearing the internal spaces within us. I know for me, learning to actually listen and hear my different inner parts, my inner tribe, as I call it, hearing the many thoughts in the internal dialogue, developing that skill and relationship with myself, it was and still is, a real game changer. Not to mention when I practice listening to myself, I'm simultaneously developing my skills for listening to others. By developing our connection to all the different parts of ourselves, we create more understanding about who and why we are, offering more possibility to engage, having more choice. Our awareness, kindness, and curiosity, they support our active listening practice overall to build a more clear relationship with others, the world around us, and with ourselves. Because hearing what's going on inside our own mind and body, it supports us wherever we are and with whomever we engage. Listening to ourselves, it teaches us how to listen to others, and vice versa. In life, we can't control how other people may or may not show up and be able to really hear us, but each of us can choose how we want to practice listening, really hearing ourselves in any given moment. Active listening, it takes practice, and we choose how and where we do this. We develop our skills so they're there when we need them, and they support us from day to day. Right now maybe it sounds like effort, but once you start to develop it, active listening and this skill, it grows exponentially. And one of the cool things about developing our skill of listening is that it's going to be unique for each of us because, we're not blank slates. Each of us comes with our own unique conditioning and unique inner landscape. Our practice of listening and how we hear has a lot to do with getting to know ourselves. And as always, awareness, kindness, curiosity, they're there to support us as we do that. Okay, so all that said, how about we do a short exercise? Something simple. You can learn this and then do it on your own time. And what we'll be doing is really just getting quiet, directing our attention or our awareness. And we'll quiet ourselves and and focus our listening on the external environment around us to see what we notice and how it stimulates or correlates to what we hear on the inside, in the inner landscape. So if you're driving or doing other focused tasks, maybe either pull over if you can, or pause your other activities. And if that's not an option, feel free to save this exercise for another time. And let yourself find a comfortable position. And if possible, just gently close your eyes. Take a few easy breaths. Inhale and exhale. Just inviting your body to relax into this time. Now, I'd like you to direct your attention to your external environment through your listening. Listen to what is most immediately obvious to you. If you're inside, it might be the buzz of an appliance, or another person, or an animal, or it could be some sound that's coming in from outside. You might hear wind, or birds, traffic, airplanes. And just direct your listening towards any of the sounds and spend some time with it. Stay with the sound and see how present you can be with it. And as you listen, is there anything new that you begin to notice? A pattern, a new quality, a vibration, a tone that might emerge. Try to stay active in your listening without wandering in your thoughts or getting distracted. Keep returning to keep the sound central in your attention as much as possible. Just follow your curiosity to seek new details about it. There's always more details, even that we can't perceive at first consciously. Keep opening to the possibility of noticing something new. Even if the sound might be familiar or simple or even annoying, see if you can keep opening. Breathe into the listening, relaxing and softening. You might begin to notice the silence around the sound, or how your perception of its volume might change. And just notice what you notice. We'll take another 30 seconds. So with your next breath, Notice where you have your attention and any details you observe. And slowly begin to widen your focus, to consciously include any internal sounds, any thoughts, opinions, ideas, chatter, emotions, and gently allow yourself and your listening to include these. And just notice what you notice. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just simply the way that you do it today. And take another minute to actively listen to your internal and external environments, noticing if one is louder than the other, or if a particular thought or sound grabs more of your attention. See how the different things you listen to might accentuate how and what else you hear, and see if there's any relationship to what you hear. So continue to direct your awareness and stay active with your curiosity to notice new details. Keep opening to notice what emerges as you actively, consciously listen. Try to stay as a witness to the sounds and not swept up in any thoughts or emotions. Be the observer, following your curiosity to learn more and potentially experience something new. And take one more breath and slowly release the focus. Bring your attention to your physical body and notice any contact you have with where you're sitting or the texture of your clothes. You can begin to gently wiggle your toes, your fingers, just slowly waking up your attention and your experience with your physical body and your sensations. And as you're ready, you can begin to move your body, gently stretch, taking a few deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, you can let your eyes just float open. And notice if anything changes when you open your eyes and begin to receive the visual input again. Notice where your listening has shifted. Notice what you notice. And welcome back. So we've been softening into our awareness, our active listening, to notice what we notice. We're practicing this skill of active listening to discover more about our inner landscape and really how we hear. Because, each of us listens and we hear differently, because each of us has been shaped by different things and experiences in our lives. And it's important to get to know how we listen, how we hear, because it in turn can influence in many ways how we perceive ourselves, others, our life. And throughout our days, we are listening in so many different ways. We can choose when we want to engage this skill of active listening as a way to connect with self or others, or just to strengthen this skill, to grow our understanding. Some situations will be more simple than others as far as noticing how we're listening or hearing and what's influencing us. And with practice comes more opportunity. to grow our awareness and our choice to not just work or function on autopilot, but to engage with our inner landscape. And as we've been learning in this podcast, one way we can do this is through active listening. So you can do this exercise anytime or anywhere. You can do it for 1 minute, 5 minutes, longer. There's no limit to what you can discover about yourself by choosing to listen and notice what emerges within that listening. Okay, as always, I appreciate you spending this time with me. If you want to learn more about my work, please visit my website, soundbodywisdom.com. You can also check out my book there, Touching the Invisible, A Field Guide for Living. These podcasts are free. If you enjoy them and you want to make a donation, that's fantastic. You can also go to my website where there's a button for a donation on the homepage. Again, that's soundbodywisdom.com. Thanks for being here. This has been Jacqueline with Soundbody Wisdom. Take care.